But Prime Minister Netanyahu was convinced, and soon the transfers began. Cash started flowing into the Gaza Strip, suitcases full of notes, supplied securely by the Israeli forces, from Qatar to Gaza. According to one report, Israeli forces would meet a Qatari diplomat. This was at the Israel-Jordan border. They would then drive this diplomat to Gaza, along with his many suitcases of cash. He would deliver the money, and Israel would drive him back. And this continued until 2021.
So, if you have always wondered how did Hamas came to be, how they became so powerful, and who was funding them, and how was that funding getting into Gaza without Israel being aware, allegedly, or without Israel knowing what was going on, then you are not alone. Because I have been asking myself that same question. How come Israel never knew that a massive plan for an attack was ongoing? Because remember, what happened on the 7th of October wasn't just random, right? It wasn't a random act. It did not just came out of nowhere. It took planning. It took organizing. It must have taken at least a year to put something like that together. And how did Israel miss all this? How did the CIA not saw this coming? Well, if you also have been asking all these questions, maybe this video would give you some closure as to what might have went on between Israel, the government of Israel, and Hamas. So, watch the video.
New details have emerged. They show how he helped fund Hamas, how the Israeli Prime Minister helped Hamas get millions of dollars every year. This is the same group that he talks about destroying now, but for almost a decade, he secured millions of dollars for them, suitcases full of cash, delivered to Gaza with Israeli security. It started in 2014. Israel and Hamas had just fought a war. The Gaza Strip was in ruins. Qatar wanted to help to rebuild Gaza, so it started sending money. But this money could not be delivered without Israeli help. And that's where Netanyahu came in. He supported the plan. Not just that, he even lobbied Washington. In 2017, the US was not happy with Qatar's link to Hamas. It wanted to sanction Doha. But Netanyahu sent his lawmakers all the way to Washington. He told America that Qatar is not a problem. Instead, it is part of the solution, that they needed Qatar for a peaceful Gaza. So Qatar continued to give money to Hamas and Israel supported them. Then in 2018, Netanyahu had a new plan, an active role for Israel in the transfer of money. Here's what he believed, the Israeli Prime Minister. Qatar would pour in millions, Hamas would spend that money on Gazans, and Israel would ensure that the money is not used for military purposes. This was his plan. It was red flagged by many people in his team. But Prime Minister Netanyahu was convinced, and soon the transfers began. Cash started flowing into the Gaza Strip, suitcases full of notes, supplied securely by the Israeli forces, from Qatar to Gaza. According to one report, Israeli forces would meet a Qatari diplomat. This was at the Israel-Jordan border. They would then drive this diplomat to Gaza, along with his many suitcases of cash. He would deliver the money, and Israel would drive him back. And this continued until 2021.
So my brothers and sisters, I hope that video gave you some closure as to what went on before October the 7th. And let me be clear, okay? These speculations have been out there. People have been trying to connect the dots. And even people in Israel are kind of like wondering how all this could have taken place without nobody being aware. Like, how was it even possible that Hamas will plan something like this, and Mossad, which is considered as one of the most highly sophisticated spy agency, wasn't aware? How come? And how come when the Hamas terrorists breached the fences of Israel, it took them 6 or 7 hours to respond? How come? What were they doing? As security states as Israel, shouldn't they have soldiers on high alert, always available? So I think these questions need answers, and I personally think that what their Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is doing right now is trying to avoid answering all these questions, because he has just gone full nut on the whole war on Gaza. And he is out there just trying to deflect from answering this question, from giving a clear explanation as to what really happened, and what role he might have played in strengthening and building Hamas. There was a video circulating where he said that Hamas was that necessary evil, that Hamas was something they could prop up. Hamas was something they could use to their advantage, because according to him, if Hamas is in Gaza, and if Hamas could be able to push out the Palestinian Authority, there would be a divide between these two territories. And like you guys all know, divide and rule policy has always been very, very effective. If you want to conquer a people without pulling out any sweat, use divide and rule policy. That will let you achieve your goal in no time. Divide and rule policy is very effective, and that is what the Israeli Authority thought they could use. They could just go out there and say, well, we tried our best to give the Palestinians a state. No, we wanted them to have their own state. We honestly wanted them to have their own state. But how can we give them a state if they are as fractured as they are? How can we give them a state if Hamas is in Gaza committing all these atrocities? How can we trust them with a state if the PLO, that's the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, cannot even rein in Hamas in Gaza? So would that be a two-state solution or a three-state solution? If the Palestinian Authority in West Bank and Hamas in Gaza do not see eye to eye, so is that going to be a two-state or a three-state? So they thought that this was a way to just let this whole state thing lie, or just put it at the back burner. But they never thought that Hamas was that entity that would bite the hands that was feeding them. They never thought so. They thought they could keep Hamas under the wrap. They could control them. But I guess they are finding out right now that, well, it's not as easy as they might have thought. But you guys out there, when you saw this video by Paki Sharma and how she explained the whole relationship between Israel, at least the Israeli Authority, the Qatari Authority, and Hamas, what is your take? Share that with us in the comment section below, because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. Thank you very much for doing just that, and like always, see you in the next one.